Hi there, welcome back to What the Flick. I'm Christy. Other people exist here as well, like Alonso
Oh.
and Matt and Ben. We're all here. Hello. Solo. Its box office numbers were, say it with me.
Low.
It's too easy. How low were they?
Less than 100.
It's just so funny. We exist in a world in which a $103 million opening is considered a
big
massive
letdown.
disappointment. It was expected to do between 130 and 150 million in the U.S. and it only made 103 over the 4-day Memorial Day weekend. To what do we attribute this massive failure?
Overwhelmingly, I think word of mouth is that people saw it and then told their friends it wasn't worth it to see.
Yeah, I mean, definitely when the people that sort of chart these numbers as the weekend progresses, that's definitely a thing where it wasn't building, it was kind of tumbling, and yeah, so that definitely, even though the opening night score was an A- cinema score, this was, I said in my review, this feels like the least epic Star Wars movie. I think for a lot of people, this was the one you could skip.
Right,
Well,
it feels the most like just like filler. Yeah, that's what we thought. Yeah.
But I think it's more than just the movie, because I think a lot of it is the timing of when it came out.
Sure.
Right? I mean, they have the unfortunate luck to be behind Deadpool, which was behind Avengers, which was behind Black Panther. Like
Yeah, but two of those movies were from the same studio.
No, I understand, but we've had this series of must-see blockbusters, right? And one of the things, and a lot of us, even people watching the show who are really, really hardcore film fans, we forget that the average person sees maybe 5 movies in the theater a year.
Right.
And chances are they've already seen 2 this year, probably 3.
2 this month.
2 this month, right? And so it becomes tough to get the momentum to go back and see another movie you've just gone. And again, it's not just the expense of paying the ticket, right? It's like if you're taking your family to go something like this, you're looking at least, $75, $100 for tickets and food and parking or
babysitter. If you don't take
those
your
costs go
kids,
up. And so when you have a movie that is basically a layup, that's like, yeah, it's fine. It's not the event you have to go out and see.
Especially when the last Star Wars movie came out 5 months ago.
That's part of the thing.
Star Wars and Terrence Malick need to slow down.
Right, we used to have Star Wars movies every 3 years, right? The original trilogy and then this prequels, they were spaced 3 years apart, and then there were 16 years between Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace.
Right.
And now we have them all the time, and we're gonna have episode 9 in a year and a half.
And it's not as special anymore, and it's exactly the way I feel about the Olympics. No, seriously, go with me on this.
Wow,
the Olympics,
okay.
same thing, right? When the Olympics were every 4 years and you had winter and summer in the same year, that was a big deal. You had to wait 4 years, like, ooh, wow,
in the
Olympics,
mid-90s,
this
they
meant
changed
something.
it, yeah.
And now the Summer
it's-
Olympics are the midterms.
Kind of, and then like, now
or
it's
the
every,
Winter Olympics and midterm,
well,
right?
but now it's every couple of years, and you're like, oh yeah, Olympics again, and it doesn't feel like the event. And I think that's
Yeah, the World Cup, they make you wait for you.
Let me play on that a little bit, because I think you're onto something with the Olympics, but I want to take it a little bit farther. To me, that part of the charm is lost, and I don't know whether this exists for anyone else, but the Olympics feel cheapened, perhaps by that, no question that might have something to do with it, but also by the unbelievable corporatization of the Olympics. I feel like I am constantly being sold during the Olympics. And even in the stories about athletes with this heart-swelling music, and all their mothers couldn't have died when they were 6,
They're all edited the same way, the same
actually,
music.
so what you don't realize is that's actually a little known but very effective training process, is that you kill somebody's mother,
Right, and that
really
them.
Ready to
ramps
go all the
up.
way.
So
cynical.
and it's just, and even when the story's not that compelling, but it's also just the sponsorships and the feel like you're being fed a story that isn't an authentic story. And I think to some extent that is inevitably going to happen with what's 10 years ago it seemed like the nature of either the franchise movie or the superhero movie was getting hammered at us in a way that we were unaccustomed to. But it turns out there was another level. And as you say, with 5 months from a Star Wars movie and 3 huge must-see important franchise movies within 6 weeks, or if you take it out, 8 weeks if you include Black Panther, and let's not forget Book Club. That somehow feels inauthentic, and I think there is something subtle about going to the theater because you love movies and want to see a movie, and then going theaters because somebody's saying,
"Gotta go, you gotta."
One of the undeniable pleasures of Solo was Donald Glover as Lando.
Sure.
So Donald Glover did an interview with EW Radio talking about how he can envision like a whole world for Lando. There's supposed to be a Lando spinoff film, but he can imagine that it would be like Frasier in space. This is how he thinks Lando. This is the path Lando should follow.
So Lando's got a talk show,
and he gets a little Jack Russell Terrier who's super cute. So
I can't wait to hear the Childish Gambino remix of Toss Salad and Scrambled Eggs.
Yes, it got us thinking though about like what possible like sci-fi space TV show mashup spin-offs could be fun. What are your ideas?
What were my ideas? Oh, now I have to look.
This segment was your idea, man.
I know this was.
You made us think.
I forgot we were leading with mine.
I'll tell you mine.
Okay,
Mine
here's yours,
are-
man.
Oh,
mine-
okay.
What are yours?
Yes. All right. So my first one, I thought this was a gimme, was something set in the cantina that's basically Cheers, like
Cheers
the
in the
day-to-day
cantina.
in that
Totally,
yes.
cantina.
Even
right?
without B. Arthur alive,
Right.
it would still work.
Right. Now, I didn't stick with just Star Wars, so I went a little bit in a different direction. You guys all stuck to Star Wars.
I did.
I wanted to see a hour-long doctor drama, right? Like an ER or a Grey's Anatomy, but with the techs in Westworld. Right? Sure. Like with Felix and the rest of the people who like spend their whole time putting bodies back together.
Well, see, I was thinking a half-hour like MASH in an intergalactic hospital, but like in a field hospital somewhere way far in the outreach of the like Empire's ongoing war.
Okay.
I had two real quick. All in the Family. Obviously, Darth Vader is Archie Bunker, and he's living with his daughter and her husband. So that's Leia and Han, and that's good. And then Cheers, where Kirk's the bartender, obviously, but Uhura get a little interracial excitement in this new era. She's the sassy waitress. Spock, the know-it-all. So a little bit of Cliff Clavin as Spock. McCoy is the shrink. Scotty, the older drunk bartender, and Khan runs the company. And Sulu, the young bartender, the Woody Harrelson, and he's super into Spock.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now, who's the norm in all this?
I guess I didn't really guess I could come up with a norm. I guess, but you know, some of these are I had Chekhov as the romantic. Yeah, I guess Chekhov could be norm. He seems
Harvey Mudd.
No one is
I like that. Harvey Mudd, yes.
Paul, remember Paul?
Harry Mudd.
Paul was Paul would just walk in. He was another guy in glasses, and it was just Paul, and he was played by an actor named Paul, and you've seen Paul in other things.
That was easy. Mine are kind of obvious. Well, my first one's kind of obvious, and that's moonlighting, but with Leia and Han, right? Like they've already got the
Will they, won't
classic
they?
screwball, snappy banter, but a lot of mine are like reality shows. So I'm picturing a reality cooking show in which gourmet chefs have to bring food to Jabba the Hutt, and if he doesn't like it, he throws them in the Sarlacc pit, right? If he doesn't like what they've cooked. And so there's a lot of literal life and death tension at stake here.
The Real Housewives of Endor.
I was saying Real Housewives of Coruscant,
I think,
because that's like the fashionable kind of forward-thinking planet.
There you go.
Or Naboo, but on Naboo I want Project Runaway, but with Amidala's stylist.
That's right.
I think Nick had the best idea.
Nick's was the X Games on Hoth. That was his idea when I told him. He's like, "Mommy, I've got so many more." He's like writing them down. I'm like, "We're good. We're really good."
That's real quick for those. That's Paul on Cheers.
I'm glad you're showing us and not the audience.
Well, the audience can figure out. They can do the same thing I did. Google. He was also in. It was in Office Space.
We'll fix it in
All right, we have like a few seconds here, so do yours.
Oh no, the MASH and the Mary Tyler Moore. I always want a new Mary Tyler Moore show. So somebody is sending the news out to the galaxy. So I think why not?
Yeah.
There's a Ted Baxter in there somewhere.
All right, so come up with your ideas. Let me know. Let us all know what you think about really bad, terrible sci-fi space mashups.